What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a full fight card predictions for UFC 328.
The Wolf Chimaev versus Strickland, and Josh Van versus Tyra. For the flyweight title. Dual titles on the card this weekend, and it is a banger of a card. I didn't even realize we got fighters like Kopylov, Sabatini, how you say your boy, Bazinger, Serkayev.
Bozgar Sursakayev.
Yeah, that's.
I know his last name, but I can't.
That's
do the first name.
Sursakayev.
Sursakayev.
Yeah.
Believe.
So we're gonna butcher names. At least I am. He might not, but he is looking like he was supposed to be the next big thing. But we're gonna get more into that. We're gonna do early prelims, then the prelims, then the main card predictions, a little bit of who they fought last, and just kind of put our 2 cents in. Noah's Game Over TV, Dad's Game Over TV. So let's rock and roll. We're gonna start with the flyweight division. First fight of the night, we got a guy Clayton Carpenter versus Jose Ocha. What you know about them guys? Anything?
No, sir.
All right. So what we got, Clayton Carpenter, he's coming off of 2 straight losses. Possibly why he's on the early prelims. And we got Jose, who's 1-1 in his last 2 fights. He does have a win in the UFC over Cody Durden. So MMA math, we're just going to say that Jose should win this one because I'm not super familiar with either of these 2 guys.
Me either.
But that's just that one. Now let's get into some better stuff. In the middleweight, we got Bazinger
Sursakayev. Can't get his first
versus
name.
the Jordan Santos. Sursakayev's 11-0, undefeated. Hamzat's training partner. And the other guy, Santos, is 1-1 in his last 2 fights. His biggest win was a guy, Danny Burlow. Not super familiar with him, but that was in the UFC. What are we thinking? Sursakayev?
I think Sursakayev.
11-0, he's going to stay 12-0?
I think Sursakayev's going to do it. He got a 3rd round TKO, I believe, at 322, I believe, which would have been November.
322, yep. And then that was against Eric McCormick. We all using Sherdog as a little cheater. But yeah, he's 11-0, looking to go 12-0. Hamzat's training partner. You're training a wolf, you better be a wolf yourself.
Yeah.
So, and he's like 10 finishes, 1 decision. So, lock him in to be a finish. Next fight we got going into featherweight division, which is going to be Pat Sabatini versus William Gomez. Sabatini's coming off of 3 straight losses. No, I'm sorry, he's coming off of 3 straight wins. His last was a unanimous decision. He's best known probably for his knockout loss against Diego Lopez. And one of Diego Lopez's highlight knockouts. He's fighting William Gomez. He's 1-1 in his last 2 fights. He's been to a bunch of decisions in the UFC. I'm going to lean towards Pat Sabatini. He's, I think, a better UFC veteran. So we're going to go with Pat Sabatini.
I'm going to go with Pat Sabatini as well.
I wouldn't put him down as a lock for your bets, but I'd look for him to be the favorite going into this fight. And then round out the last part of the early prelims, we got a middleweight. We got Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio. So it's crazy seeing Kopylov on the friggin' early prelims. What do you think?
I mean, his last fight, he was against what? Paulo Costa on.
No, his last
card,
fight was RoboCop, I think. Yeah, I thought his last fight was RoboCop.
I just sworn that his last fight was.
Yeah, who was it? Yeah, Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, and Paulo Costa. Of course, Paulo Costa just went up to light heavyweight and just destroyed.
Azamat Murzakanov.
Yeah, who
undefeated
was like number 4, number 5 lightweight
I believe
right now.
He's the number 6.
Yeah.
He's, like 14-0.
So for Kopylov to go back-to-back decision losses to RoboCop and Costa, this guy Marco Tulio, he's only 1-2 in his last 2 fights, even though Kopylov's coming off of 2 losses. The guy Tulio does have a win over E.R. Potera. Potiera. Let's say that correctly. I actually know how to say that one. I'm putting Roman Kopylov as a lock on this
I
one.
think Roman Kopylov has fought better guys and has better wins over bigger fighters.
Definitely has a
And
better
bigger
UFC,
picture.
better UFC fights, more experience.
Mhm.
So that's going to round out the early prelims. We're going to get into the prelims now. We got the old school Jim Miller, 1-1 in his last fights. He's coming off of a loss to Chase Hooper. This will be in the lightweight division, fighting this guy Jared Gordon, who is 1-2 in his last 2 fights. His biggest achievement, I guess, in the UFC so far, besides his wins, is he did go to a decision against Paddy Pimblett.
Which a lot of people say that he won that fight.
Really? There you go.
A lot of
See,
people say that he
not super
won
familiar with that fight. Maybe I have to go back and watch it. But either way, to go to a decision against the guy who just fought for the title is a big thing. Yeah, the interim title. But Jim Miller against Jared Gordon. Heart goes with Jim Miller. Brain goes with Jared Gordon. I think he's going to be the young dog. I don't know. Come on, Jim, let's do it. But I think Jared Gordon. I'm not putting no money on that one.
Yeah,
I don't bet with my heart.
I don't think Jim Miller got it. I think he's starting to get old, starting to get a little bit out of his prime. I think Jared Gordon's got it.
There you go. Next in the lightweight division, we got Grant Dawson, who's 1-1 in his last 2 fights against Matus Rebecki, who is coming off of 2 straight losses also. But he still does have that big win over Maitekbek Olaborio.
Maitekbek Oylabai?
Yeah, that guy.
Oylabai?
So he's a gamer. So Matus has that win over him. I always get Matus Rebecki and Matus Gamrot a little bit confused, but him against Grant Dawson, Matus Rebecki. I think it's going to be a good close fight. I think it's who can land in the stand-up because I think they're both going to want to go for takedowns. Personally, what do you think?
I think Grant Dawson's going to win.
Ooh, we split on that one. All right. Next one, we go into the welterweight division. We got Joel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amazov.
I believe that's how you say it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. Joel Alvarez is coming off of 4 straight wins. He's got a big win over Vicente Luque. And he did get knocked out against Sarukian. He has a TKO loss to Sarukian. So he's been in there with some big names. This Yaroslav Amazov, he's coming off also 2 straight wins. His last fight, he did have a submission win over Neil Magny. So Neil Magny's still a gamer. He's still floating around the 15 to 20s rankings. Who do you think on this one? So you got Joel Alvarez. So he must be going up to welterweight since he's fought Sarukian. And Neil Magny's a decent sized welterweight. The guy Amazov submitted him. What do you think?
I think Amosov.
He's going to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about him.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why Joe did go up to welterweight. I'd have to do a little bit more homework on that.
Yeah.
Not super familiar with him. But yeah, I'm going to go with Amosov on this one. Not picking on how to win, but we'll go with a win.
Yeah.
And to finish in the prelims, we have Atiba Gutierrez.
Ateba Gautier?
Yeah, I said that right, against
I
Usman Diaz.
think it's Ozzy Diaz.
Ozzy Diaz, yeah. It's
Usman.
Usman's his name, but yes, Ozzy Diaz. Ozzy Diaz is 1-2 in his last 2 fights. He did have a knockout loss against Joe Pyfer, body bags, at Dana White's Contender Series. And then Atiba Gutierrez, he's 9 out of 9 straight wins right now. Also known for his KO, lightning quick power, super fast hands. But he had a decision where he gassed really bad in his last fight. Ozzy is a gamer who could fight, so if he can handle that initial power, can he drag Gutierrez into the late rounds and give him a loss?
I think Ateba's going to have improved from that fight. I think he's going to, look at training a little bit different since that last fight, and I think he's going to come in with a better way of...
Better game plan or something like that?
Better game plan, better way to control
Think
the
he's
cardio.
working on his cardio?
Yeah.
Yeah. I say Gutierrez, and I'm going with a first-round knockout. I think he's coming out like a madman.
Yeah.
He wants to show people who he really is again. Get that decision going. All right, now we get into the main card. Like I said, that was just early prelims and prelims. That's a solid fight night card right now, and this is all main card live on Paramount Plus. Little plug right there. I think they owe me some money. So we got lightweight King Bobby Green versus Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens. Stevens is coming back off of 2 straight losses in MMA. One, I think, was with PFL. Then the other one was his return to UFC that he did lose to Mason Jones. But he did go off to BKFC. And he was making a little name for himself. Trying to get that red panty celebration with Conor Gregor. But I don't think that was going to happen. But that's a whole nother story. We can make another YouTube video for that one. But King Green coming off of 2 straight wins. Last fight was his knockout against Daniel Zellhuber, which everybody thought could be the next little boxer in the division. Kind of exposed him. So, somebody's going to sleep in this fight. I don't see a lot of wrestling. I see first round knockout, King Green.
Yeah, I think King Green's got it. He's coming off a very impressive performance against Daniel. And I think Jeremy Stevens is going to have a little ring rust from not being in the octagon for a while. I just don't see Jeremy Stevens being able to beat King Green.
There we go. King Green, knockout. Next one, welterweight, we got Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley. We personally like Joe Buck. We sat next to him at UFC 300 at the he was at the press conference or at the weigh-ins?
Press conference.
At the press conference. He sat literally right next to us. If you go check out his page, his Instagram, we got pictures with him and a few other fighters. We had a great trip. That was a whole other story. But yeah, Joaquin Buck's got a little bit of my heart, but I still think he's going to try and put it on him. He is coming off of his loss. He's 6-1 of his last few fights. Was pretty much going undefeated in the UFC until he ran into Usman. That moved up to middleweight, so you got that. But he does have big wins over Wonderboy, Colby Covington, Vicente Luque, where Sean Brady's 3-1, coming off of a knockout loss to Michael Morales. But before that, he had Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, and Kevin Gastelum wins. So, is that knockout loss to Morales going to have him flinching when Joe throws him big rights? What are we thinking on this one?
I don't know. I think Sean Brady definitely is going to win in the ground game. But I think Joaquin Buckley is going to have improved from getting up from the ground. So, I want Buckley to win. I'm kind of leaning towards him to win because I've been kind of keeping up a little bit with him. And he said he's been, with his time off, coming in with a new kind of training aspect. Not aspect, but just like a new mindset. Kind of.
There you go.
So, training differently. So, I think Buckley by decision.
All right. Buckley by decision. I'm rolling with Buckley. I'm not going to pick decision, knockout, KO, because I'm not quite sure. But yeah, let's go Joe Buck. Next in the heavyweight division, we got Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. This one's a tricky one. Volkov is 5-1 in his last 6 fights. But he's been going to a lot of decisions lately. Probably one of the most boringest fights was Jelton Amadia. His last fight that he did win a decision. And, God, that was a snooze fest. Enough to where I think Jelton Amadia got cut from the UFC. It was so bad. Then, before that, he had a loss to Gain. And then a big win against Sergey Pavlovich.
Was that the loss to Gane? Wasn't that the big one where everybody believed that he won that fight?
I think so, because it did go to a decision.
Yeah.
And that's basically what got Gane the title fight.
Yeah, that was
UFC
that
White
was
House
that
card. So,
yeah.
Volkov, the dude's just a freaking skyscraper. Dude's towering. It's hard to get in on him because he's got such reach and he can keep people at bay and he can wrestle if need to. But then you got Waldo Cortez Acosta. He's 8-1 in his last 9 fights, with a big knockout win over Derek Lewis. That's our boy. He's from New Orleans, living in Houston now. But man, the Black Beast just didn't look himself in that fight. Other than that, Cortez has a loss against Pavlovich, which was unanimous decision. So he's been in there in the big fights. Definitely durable. I think he was the one that got the eye poke that most people would have called the fight, and he came back and knocked the dude out with one eye. So I don't know. I keep betting against Costa, and he keeps costing me some of my friggin' monies. So I don't know. I'm gonna roll with Acosta probably because every time I bet against him, he proves me wrong. So I'm thinking Acosta. I think somehow he's gonna get in on him, and he's either gonna land a big shot and get him to the ground, or do something to take down the skyscraper Volkov. What you thinking?
I like Waldo. I want him to win, but I think Volkov's gonna use that reach to win.
Yeah.
Get that win.
All right.
So.
There we go. We split on that one, guys. Now we're getting into the co-main event and the main event. 2 title fights. This title fight was supposed to happen, 2 cards ago?
327? The fight before.
That was it, just 327?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they only moved it back 1.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be the flyweight title. Josh Van, something happened to him. Not quite sure what it was.
Arm.
Yeah, they said it was a minor injury, just enough to where he wasn't going to be 100% for this fight. He did win the title, not in the best way possible. Pantoja with the arm injury. He is on 6 straight wins, and the last fight before Pantoja that got him to fight was probably contender fight of the year for 2025 against Brandon Royval. The dude's undefeated in the UFC except for 1 loss. So, yeah, he's not undefeated, but he's basically was undefeated. He lost against Charles Johnson. Then you got Tetsuo Taira. He's 18-1 in his last 19 fights. He's coming off of a KO win over Brandon Moreno, but he does have a split decision loss against Brandon Royval, which that fight really could have went anywhere to anyone. So MMA math says Josh Van beat Brandon Royval. This guy lost to Brandon Royval. Josh Van's going to win. I'm going with USA on this one. I'm going with Josh Van fighting out of Texas. I think he's going to send Tyra back to Japan.
Yeah, a lot of people like Tyra. I heard a lot of people are picking him to win. But I think people are kind of underestimating Josh Van from his win from getting the belt from Pantoja breaking his arm. But people are forgetting what he did against Royval.
What he did against everybody else leading up to that fight.
Yeah. So
let's see.
I'm going to go Josh Van.
Yeah,
Joshua Van. Excuse me.
I'm checking the lines right now because I'm actually interested to see who is the favorite in that fight. Let's see. Whoa. Tyra is the favorite right now. Interesting. So there you go. Tetsuya Tyra is a favorite. Josh Van's the underdog. I'd say pick him to lock in right now and get that money, get that bank. And then the main event, middleweight. This is going to be a grudge match. You got Khamzat Chimaev, the champion, versus Sean Strickland. Khamzat, undefeated. Took Dricus down, who is a great wrestler, and just dragged him wherever he wanted to. Dricus couldn't do nothing. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but it was pure domination. Then you got Whitaker with that face crank when he just basically just broke his jaw. It was horrible for Whitaker. Then Usman, which was a close fight. Then you got Holland, which was just a skull dragon. Then you got Burns, which people thought he could have lost that fight. Burns put up a fight against him. So yeah, Khamzat can get punched. He can get the takedown stuffed. But the way he just dragged Dricus around, I don't see Strickland do it. Strickland is a former champ. He's 5-2 his last 2. He had 2 losses to Duplessis. One was a split, one was unanimous. But he's got big wins over Fluffy, which was his last knockout. Of course, the title fight when he beat Adesanya. And then, of course, I think the number 1, Nasruddin Imramov. He's got big wins over those guys. So, Strickland's going to be a gamer, man. If you follow anything UFC, which if you're watching this video, you 100% do. Strickland looks even more jacked for this fight than he did against Fluffy. But can that Philly shell defense of his and his front kicks keep Hamza at bay from picking him up and dropping him on his head and just rolling him around for like a rag doll for 25 minutes?
Also got to.
I don't know.
You also got to think though, Hamza and Strickland used to train together, so
they might know a little
Strickland
bit about each other.
Strickland might know some secrets.
But
Hamzat might know
Hamzat
some
is a
secrets.
negative 600. Huge favorite in that fight. So, where do we go? Hamzat's undefeated for a reason. So, I'm going to say Hamzat Chimaev. Probably a 25-minute decision.
I don't know.
Or submission. I will not take a knockout on this fight. Unless Strickland knocks him out. But if it's going to end, it's going to end Hamzat either decision or submission. That's the bet I'm going to take.
Yeah, I think Hamzat's not going to let the trash talk get to him. So I think he's going to stick to his game plan. He's not going to let anything mess with his mind that Strickland has to say to him. And I don't think that it's going to be just like the Dricus fight. I think Sean's going to possibly stuff a couple takedowns by chance. I think he knows a few things about Hamzat. And I think
power. I like
So
that a flicker.
So I don't think this is going to be just like the Dricus fight. I think it's going to be a little bit more standing. But I think it's going to be Hamzat decision.
Now, leading up to it, who's going to get into whose head? Both of them like to shit talk. The press conference is going to be pure cinema. I'm going to be shocked if Dana White has them two sitting next to him with Dana in the middle. Lord knows what's coming out of either one of their mouths. But who's going to get into whose head? Can Strickland get into Hamzat's head to make him want to try and stand? Because that's the only way Strickland's going to win is going to be by a knockout or knocking him down and possibly getting him in a submission chance. But it's going to have to be probably a TKO knockout. Knock him down, land a couple punches. Hamzat, I think, is not going to knock out Strickland, but has a chance to, of course, take him down and get his back and submit him. It's going to be a fun, interesting fight. Even though Hamzat's such a big favorite, you can't count Strickland out. There's too many wild cards in this one. It's going to be a great night of fights. I cannot wait for this Saturday. So hit like, subscribe. If you've watched a lot of his videos when he was younger, it was a bunch of toys. As you can see, we did keep a lot of his collection. But we are mainly going to be switching to what it was originally supposed to be. He wants game over TV to be video games. And we are going to be doing a lot of UFC content. We're about to get back on it big time. So hit like, subscribe. This is going to be your new gaming and UFC content. Check us out.
Peace.
Peace.